and welcome to the 100th Meridian Museum in our town, Cozad. I'm Lance Schwartz, inviting you to sit back and relax. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes showing you around the 100th Meridian City. Our town, Cozad, is located along Interstate 80, 180 miles west of Lincoln. Nearly 4,000 people call Cozad home. Back in the 1870s, John J. Cozad was traveling west on the Union Pacific Railroad when he saw a sign in the middle of Nebraska that read 100th Meridian. It impressed him as a favorable site for a town, so he organized a group of people back in Ohio, which he soon brought to this location and founded the town that was named after him. When John J. Cozad moved from Cincinnati, Ohio to Dawson County in 1873, he brought with him an 8-year-old son who would later become a famous artist known as Robert Henry.
He was an extremely nice man. He was called the Old Man at 19.
Jan Patterson is the executive director at the Robert Henry Museum.
Every man that ever met Henry wanted to emulate him, paint like him, walk like him, be like him. And every woman who ever met him fell in love with him.
In 1883, Henry left Cozad and enrolled in an art school in Philadelphia. He then studied in Paris for 3 years.
This is the world's largest depository of original Henry sketches. The center one there with the 3 beards, that's a self-portrait with beards. So he's just experimenting.
Henry pioneered realistic paintings and believed artists should have freedom of expression in art.
You can look at a Henry painting and distinguish it from any other painting.
From 1915 to 1927, Henry was a popular and influential teacher at the Art Students League of New York. He died in New York City in 1929.
He was only 64 years old. I mean, he had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pupils. Plus, he introduced Impressionism to America, which is a big deal.
It's kind of a hidden gem down here.
Larry Kari has long been a supporter of the Robert Henry Museum. That's why he's building a 30-foot by 30-foot addition to the building that Henry once called home.
Will be fully insulated, security, no windows, humidity and heating controlled, and that'll help protect some of this valuable artwork that we hope we're going to get on loan, and plus some of our sketches and some of our originals that we've already had.
There's no doubt that Henry is considered one of America's most treasured artists, especially when you take into account that one of his 1908 paintings sold for $3.6 million at Christie's auction house back in 2005. In 1994, the 100th Meridian Museum was built by the Cozad Historical Society to display all of their priceless artifacts. This sign along Highway 30 marks the 100th Meridian as it passes through our town, Cozad. In the central Great Plains of the United States, the 100th Meridian is an important natural demarcation line where the humid east meets the arid west. And not far from that historic sign sits the 100th Meridian Museum. Judy Andrus is a board member at the museum, and she's agreed to show us around.
Well, one of the interesting things is our touring coach. It came from Yellowstone National Park. William Howard Taft and his family rode in this touring coach in Yellowstone.
This rare touring coach has been representing Cozad for more than 70 years.
We use it during heydays. We took it to the State Fair when it was in Lincoln, and now it's in Grand Island. This is the 50th year for Nebraska Land Days, and it has always been in Nebraska Land Days. It's just all about Cozad.
As is this little piece of history on wheels.
This is our antique popcorn stand. It was originally located right outside of the 100th Meridian Museum.
Another important area in the museum is this tribute to some of Cozad's finest.
This is our memorial wall of our veterans.
Judy says the Historical Society is continually searching for Cozad vets to honor.
As people come in and they recognize that their family member isn't up there, that's our way of collecting, because obviously we have a lot more veterans.
The volunteers here at the 100th Meridian Museum invite you to come help them celebrate their 20th anniversary this summer. The museum is open Tuesday through Saturday from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Muhammad Abu Shadi became a chef in his native Italy. In 1980, he moved across the Atlantic Ocean to New York City. After 22 years of cooking in the Big Apple, he met a lovely lady from Nebraska that would change his world in a major way.
This is the olive oil we use.
Muhammad Abu Shadi goes by the nickname Shadi.
We're gonna cut it a little bit in here.
Shadi spent 2 decades cooking at 5-star restaurants in New York City. Along the way, Mayor Rudolph Giuliani became a big fan of Shadi's food.
He like good food too. He's Italian originally, you know.
You'll hear the word fresh a lot in Shadi's kitchen.
Fresh rosemary. Yeah, you get this fresh garlic, minced garlic too, fresh mushroom too. We cook everything is fresh from the start.
And Shadi doesn't mind spending a little extra to import ingredients from overseas.
It's from Italy.
Becky, on the other hand, is not from Italy. She's from Nebraska, and she's the reason this talented chef wound up in Dawson County.
Well, I was just dining at a restaurant in New York that he was the chef at, and he came out and like he normally does here and talks to people, you know, and we were just talking and we kind of was a little spark or something, and we just started, you know, talking back and forth and emailing back and forth, and one thing led to another and we got married.
Shadi and Becky agreed to live in Nebraska after they got married, and they opened Bella Italia restaurant and pizzeria in 2003. And Italian food in central Nebraska has never been the same.
People like to travel. People will travel for good food. And that's why we have been successful, because the word has gotten out that we have an amazing restaurant.
Becky says the locals have provided great support for Bella Italia, but the majority of their business comes from diners who have traveled to Cozad. Diners like Father Matthew Kapersky from Kearney.
What do I love about Bella Italia is just the quality of food is just extraordinary. I've been to Italy a couple times, and this is as close as you get to authentic Italian food in the area, and it's just a great quality of ingredients and great chef putting it together. So,
Bella Italia is open for business 4 nights a week, Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 9 p.m. And if you'd like to join Shadi and Becky on the weekends, reservations are definitely recommended. I'm guessing the list of people that grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida, and then moved here to Cozad, Nebraska is pretty short. But regardless, Ann Burkholder is a proud member of that elite group. She went from the city to the farm and became the feed yard foodie.
I was a competitive swimmer, went to college to swim and to learn. I went to Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire. I also like to laugh that the best thing that I found at Dartmouth was my husband, Matt.
Like Ann, Matt was a long way from home.
Matt was a farm boy from Cozad, went to Cozad High School and then went to Dartmouth to play football and run track.
Ann and Matt got married in 1996.
We made the decision when we got finished with school in New Hampshire that we wanted to come back to the farm. We wanted to raise our children in a small community, wanted them to understand where their food came from.
And now it's safe to say Ann's 3 daughters definitely know where their food comes from.
Oh, you see that one there? 916? I want to eat him. He looks tasty.
Ann is now the president and manager of Will Feed Incorporated.
I'm the boss lady.
Ann majored in psychology at Dartmouth.
Quite honestly, I use psychology quite a bit at the cattle feed yard, both managing my employees and also obviously with my animals.
Ann says that she finds cattle fascinating.
It's very interesting for me to study them and to understand the way that they think so that we can reduce stress on them, make them as comfortable as possible, and give them the best welfare as possible when they're here in the feed yard. We've got a good casserole in the bunk. What's in that casserole, Meg?
Ann is pleased that she's been able to thrive in what has traditionally been a man's world.
I don't know if I'd call myself a pioneer. Certainly when I moved here in the mid-1990s, there weren't very many ladies working in feed yards. Today there's quite a few. I hope that I'm a mentor to people. I'm not sure I've done anything revolutionary.
But it's safe to say that Ann's success in the cattle industry has impressed the most important people in her life.
I'm glad that she's her, and I'm glad that she can do what she does because it's made me who I am.
We're kind of parting the waters like Moses, right?
Sure.
Quite frankly, after spending 17 years in Cozad, it's absolutely lived up to all of my expectations. I can't imagine a better place to live.
In 2009, Ann was awarded the Beef Quality Assurance National Producer of the Year Award for the volunteer work that she did in promoting beef farmer education. Straight ahead, we'll drop by a pair of impressive family businesses here in our town, Cozad. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Our Town Cozad. I'm Lance Schwartz. Every now and then, you'll hear about a father-son dentist duo working in the same office. But rarely will you hear about 3 generations of dentists from the same family. And almost never will you come across a 4-generation family of dentists, until, of course, you visit Our Town Cozad. It all got started back in 1910 when Rexford Hecox was a member of the first dental class ever to graduate from Creighton University. After graduating from Creighton, the original Dr. Hecox moved to Cozad and opened a dental practice. In the early 60s, Rexford invited his son Fred to take over his dental practice after a half-century as a dentist. To the early 80s, and it was time for Fred to welcome in the 3rd generation of Hecox dentists.
I never even gave it any thought. This is where I always wanted to come.
This is Dr. Mike Hecox.
I like the community, I like the setting, good place to raise a family.
And that family included the 4th generation of Hecox dentists. Since he was 4 years old, Ashton had an inkling that he would grow up and become a dentist, just like his great-grandpa, his grandpa, and his dad.
What happened was I got hit in the face with a baseball in high school and lost all my front teeth. And Dad being here to fix me up, that kind of made me realize what a dentist can do and how they can benefit a community and help kids out and that kind of thing. All right, that's good.
Ashton joined his father Mike in 2012.
And I'll bet you can help because you always do. Well, it's a dream come true. You know, I think every father loves to have his son come back and practice with him or farm with him or whatever. Clayton, how are you today? Good. Gosh, it's good to see you.
I feel like his 30-odd years of experience have really accelerated my learning and kind of rubbed off on me to where I think I'm more progressed than I typically would be without a great mentor like him. Okay, let's try on your new top one here.
Unfortunately, the first 2 Hecox dentists have passed away. But through the magic of digital photo editing, the Hecoxes were able to create this group shot of all 4 generations of Hecox dentists.
We've got a 4th generation to carry on, so I don't know of any community that will quite have that kind of succession as what we have had here in Cozad.
Now to another family business here in our town, Cozad. Rod Donner left tiny Farnham, Nebraska in the mid-60s to go off and serve his country in the Vietnam War. While in the military, Rod worked as a jet engine mechanic. That sparked his interest in aviation. When he arrived back here in Cozad in the late 60s, learning to fly was at the top of his to-do list. And once he got his pilot's license, Rod was on cloud nine.
Once you're in aviation, and it just becomes part of you and you enjoy it. Most people go to work and every morning we go to play every morning. It's enjoyable. I mean, there's probably not a better occupation that I can think of.
Rod Donner says small town airports don't survive without a lot of people supporting them.
Cozad has those people. They could see that it's an asset to the community.
Rod has managed the airport for the past 35 years.
We went from a grass strip in 1968 to we're able to handle most any small jet with several thousand square foot of concrete.
In addition to managing the Cozad Airport, Rod and his wife Connie have also owned and operated Mid-State Aviation since 1975.
Got to brag a little bit, this is probably one of the better ones in the whole state of Nebraska. And you wouldn't have that if you didn't have the people that work with you.
Mid-State Aviation is definitely a family affair.
All right, thank you.
Rod's brother takes care of our parts department, and all of our kids have at one time or another either helped load or flag or done the mowing.
Put in the job number.
Rod and Connie's youngest daughter Allison is now the general manager.
Aviation is exciting for all of us. We love that we come to work and love what we do, and it's fun to work with our family.
A large segment of Mid-State Aviation's business includes crop dusting, and with offices in both Cozad and Columbus, the Donners are able to cover a very large swath of central Nebraska fields. Marcia Fritz calls the After Zone a 21st century community learning center. Parents here in our town Cozad call it a godsend. Cozad elementary students ranging from kindergarten to 5th grade take advantage of the After Zone year-round.
All right, boys and girls, we're introducing you today to the tadpoles.
In the summer, I usually just sit and I can go to After Zone and play.
There is a lot to love about the After Zone.
Because I like playing with the basketballs. There's a lot of toys to play with.
Marcia Fritz helped write the grant 7 years ago that provided the funds for the creation of Cozad Elementary's After Zone.
We do after-school care during the school year from the time the bell's out until 6 o'clock at night. And during that time we do tutoring and homework and enrichment, and the kids have an opportunity to socialize with their friends. And then we do 8 weeks in the summer from 7:30 in the morning till 5:30 in the afternoon.
The After Zone fills 400 hours during the summer, and kids aren't the only ones that love that.
I think parents appreciate the program. We try to provide opportunities maybe that they didn't have before.
9-year-old Madison Raleigh says the After Zone is one of the best parts of her summer.
I like After Zone because I just get to see all my friends, and it just has awesome activities and it keeps me entertained.
The After Zone provides 10-year-old Brady Davis with a fun alternative to sitting around the house.
Normally I stay home and I'm really bored after school, so I get to come here and play with my friends all the time.
As the director of the After Zone, Marcia can't thank the giving people of our town Cozad enough.
It really does take a village.
And this village should be very proud of this 21st century community learning center. And Marcia credits her staff for making the After Zone what it has become over the past 7 years. Coming up, Cozad's generous spirit of giving is on full display at the food pantry and the thrift store. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Town Cozad. I'm Lance Schwartz. The Cozad Community Food Pantry has been serving Our Town Cozad since 1984.
What we do is we give them a jar of peanut butter and a jar of jelly.
Ted Thomas was a member of the original Emergency Action Committee.
Depending on the number of people in the family, we give them some canned either chicken or tuna.
And now Ted is the manager of the Cozad Food Pantry.
Same thing with the number of families. We give them some peas.
Being able to serve his fellow man has always meant a lot to Ted.
I spent 20 years in the Coast Guard and always ready.
Ted can't help but become emotional when he thinks about all of the lives that the food pantry is affecting.
I think it's really important, and we have a saying, we would rather give 5 people that don't deserve it than to miss 1 that does deserve it.
Each deserving family can stop by the food pantry in the old train depot once every 2 months. Along with funding from the United Way, the Cozad Food Pantry is supplemented annually by a large number of citizens.
We are so fortunate that we have such a giving community.
Ted says the number of people utilizing the food pantry has quadrupled since 2008. Way back in 1972, Pastor Bud Israel's heart was touched as he dropped his daughters off at the Cozad Elementary School. Pastor Israel discovered that many of the children going into the school did not have adequate clothing. The First United Methodist Church changed all that 42 years ago. The Cozad Thrift Store is a very valuable resource in downtown Cozad. The lines of people waiting to get in are a testament to that. Rain or shine, there are always shoppers anxious to enter.
Tuesday is the big day because everybody's rushing in to see what's new and different.
Artist Dickey has been volunteering at the thrift store for the past 8 years.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the people of Cozad and the surrounding area to come and find clothing and other items that they might need.
Artist says the support system of people donating items to the thrift store is outstanding.
If you would look at our back room right now, you would see it overflowing.
Cheryl Kaufman has been involved with the thrift store for the past 3 decades.
We just go day by day. I mean, everything is donated in here, and we're very thankful for that. The community is really supporting this.
Lots of teenage clothes.
More than 50 volunteers are involved in managing this mission.
We just go by faith every day that, you know, we'll sell enough to pay a bill.
The Cozad Thrift Store is open 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 1 to 4:30. Still ahead, Tasia Aiden has a very important story to tell. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Our Town Cozad. Tasia Aiden has a story to tell, and while it isn't always easy to hear, it is important. Tasia Aiden was just 4 years old when she first recalls being sexually abused.
I felt ashamed. I felt, you know, it was a relative that did that to me. It was my grandfather who did that to me.
That abuse lasted 7 years until she was 11 years old. And then in 2004, a new nightmare occurred.
When I went to college, when I was 20, it was my sophomore year, and my ex-boyfriend, he sexually assaulted me in my apartment.
Tasia had been raped.
And that was incredibly hard for me too. I quit school just to get out of that situation.
Tasia moved back to Cozad this summer after she quit school.
That's when I met my now husband.
Still living with both of her terrifying secrets locked inside her, Tasia was motivated to seek treatment after the birth of her second child.
Because I realized that I needed help. I needed to talk about this with somebody, and to be the best mom and mother and wife that I could be, I needed to go ahead and start reaching out.
Tasia began therapy just a few weeks after Ryder was born in 2010.
And it was pretty intense.
And it worked, and Tasia soon founded the Teal Lotus Project.
I had a dream that I started an organization.
Through the Teal Lotus Project, Tasia has encouraged other victims to share their stories and seek the inner peace that she now enjoys.
I thought it was very important for other people to know this is not your shame to hold.
Tasia is now a public speaker.
I'd never seen that side of her before, and seeing how she touched people, that was the neat part to me.
Tasia's husband, Jamian, has been the rock behind her recovery.
You know, at times it was difficult to be that, but it was so worth it. Just to see how she has changed through, these past couple of years, it's incredible.
Well, that's going to do it for this enjoyable journey around the home of the Haymakers. For everyone at 1011 News, I'm Lance Schwartz. So long, everybody.